I have created yet another trios challenge, and in this one, the trios are going to be facing off waves of big robots until all 3 of the brawlers are defeated. The map is pretty small to give the bot a fighting chance. Players are permitted to use as many attacks and gadgets as they please, but they're limited to 1 super. Any form of healing, as well as the shield gear, is prohibited. The top dog modifier is enabled so that any HP lost is permanent. Let's begin. We'll start off with the Wild West trio, and you'll see that they're blessed with having the weapon of Spike on their team. With that being said, they're able to absolutely shred the first 3 big robots because Spike has a combination of his popping pincushion gadget and his attack, and he also has help from Shelly and Colt. Although Spike gets finished off by the 3rd big robot, Colt and Shelly are still able to handle the 4th big robot, but the 5th one will finish off the trio. Next up we have the Shaman Tribe trio, and Nita is able to carry even in the absence of her Bear With Me star power because she gets to use the Hyper Bear wand. You'll see that thanks to the bear's high DPS, each robot gets taken down very quickly, but then you'll notice that as they're fighting the 4th big robot, Nita's bear finally gets defeated. In the absence of Nita's bear, they're able to finish off the 4th big robot, but they lose Nita in the process. Then, once the 5th big robot spawns in, Leon and Bo run out of options and are finally defeated, giving the trio a total of 4 big takedowns. Next up we have the Retropulse gang, and on the first robot they deal with, Crow gets to take away a lot of its health right away using his super. After he and his teammates finish it off, they repeat a similar practice on the second one with BB's super. The 3rd robot will get bulldozed right away, and then it will get finished off by the trio's attacks, but it will bring down Crow before it's defeated. And then the 4th big robot will be too overwhelming for the trio to handle, and Bull and BB will be defeated. Next up we have the Junker family trio, and Pam's and Jesse's super are able to serve as a big shield for the first few waves of the match. Jesse's turret has a high damage output, and the rest of the brawlers in the trio are able to deal really fast damage towards the robot, limiting how much work it's able to do each wave. However, you may have noticed at one point Jesse did pick up a healing hot dog during that round, and I decided that it would only be fair to penalize the trio by 1 whole robot, because it comes quite clear this round that had Jesse not picked up that hot dog, they would have never cleared 6 full robots before they were all taken down. Also, the 7th robot never spawned in, and this is the fate that Snowy suffered. Next up we have the lovely Arcade trio, and they don't even seem to struggle to take down the first 2 big robots. However, the 3rd one will finish off 8-Bit's damage booster, and from there things start to go downhill because the 4th one will leave them pretty low on health. Then, while the trio is fighting the 5th robot, they lose 8-Bit, and then they're left off at the 6th robot who finishes them all off. I didn't give him credit for the 6th one's destruction since Brock left the square. Alright, now we have the Gem Miners trio, who has a pretty slow DPS, but they're super tanky with Jackie and Carl on their team. They take them the first one no problem, but then the second one will lower their health a lot before it's defeated, and they then go on to finish off a 3rd big robot, but then the 4th one's had it, and he finishes them all off one by one. Now we get to watch the Pirate trio, where Daryl's spinny gadget actually gets put to some use. They overall get to make a deadly combination with things like that gadget, Penny's Salty Barrel, Tick's Mine Mania, all of their supers, their star powers, and their overall builds. And so you'll see they're still fighting strong as they push on to the 4th robot. When they reach the 5th one, they still wipe it out pretty fast with the help of Penny's Salty Barrel, but once the barrel's defeated and Penny's brought down, the match will run out of time just before the robot finishes off the trio. They had a total of 5 robots taken down. Next, we move on to the Undead trio, and they have a really low DPS, but that is because their attacks and supers seem to be geared towards large groups of enemies. As a result, a single target robot is not a good enemy for them to be facing. Luckily though, they're still able to work out a way to bring down a full 3 big robots while they're still alive. However, the 4th one never spawns in, and let's face it, Ems was not going to handle that thing on her own. Next up we have the Mexican Entertainers trio, who's at a loss because Poco's not allowed to heal his teammates. But Amber has a pretty strong super, and her attack's pretty interesting to watch. And she also has El Primo on her team, so they're able to deal some damage before they're brought down. But unfortunately, after a simple 2 robots are brought down, the trio is left to just Amber, and she's not able to take on a 3rd one all by herself. Next up we have the Townsfolk trio, and they're even at a further loss. I mean, I feel bad for this one. They have Byron, who's not even able to heal his teammates, and Piper is crammed into a small box with a bot, and she can't find the fullest range for attacks to deal more damage. And then Barley, who doesn't want to be close to a big robot. As a result, they can only bring down 1 full robot before they're all taken down. Next up we have the Biology team trio, and Sprout's able to block off the bot with its wall, And then Sprout somewhat breaks the system since its gadget refills its supercharge, but I decided that we would allow Sprout to use multiple supers for this. And as a result, this trio had to take 2 full matches to finish off the robots. So with the assistance of Sprout, they were able to slowly but surely bring down 2 full robots. And then in the second match, they were able to take on another 2 before all of the brawlers have been defeated. And of course, I tried to play the second match like the way they left off. Next up we have the Gift Shop trio, and they have a really high burst of damage because the first robot gets taken down pretty fast. But you'll notice that unfortunately, even though they have really high damage, they don't have too much health. And by the 4th robot, all 3 of the brawlers in the trio are pretty weak. And unfortunately, the 4th robot itself seems to barely struggle to bring all 3 of the brawlers down. We now get to look at the Mystic Wanderers trio, and they get a lot of help because Tara is able to bring 4 friends into the match. She's able to use her reinforcements gadget for each of the robots that spawn in, but then Sandy gets eliminated by the second big robot, and then the third one is too much for the last 2 brawlers to handle, and ultimately they are defeated. Their score only reached 2 big robots. We next reach the Superheroes trio, and as deadly as they seem having brawlers like Surge and Max, they actually seem to have a bit of a slow progression. We were able to use Meg's reload gadget to help the trio, but I struggled to find the sweet spot with Surge's bounce attack. Either way, they were finished off by the 3rd robot they encountered. Next up we have the Snowtail staff, and Gale's gadget is able to carry this round. He was able to use 1 gadget on the first 3 robots, and as a result they were able to take them all down without suffering any damage. Mr. P also spawned in a lot of porters for help, and Lou's star power was able to decrease the damage of the robot, and the trio ends up surviving the entirety of the first match. So I delivered the brawlers into the second match at a weaker state, and they still kept dominating the robot. And I apologize dearly, but they did not continue after the second match ended, and that will be described more in the extra scene at the end of this video. We now move on to the Star Force trio, and thanks to Squeak Super, they're able to absolutely shred the first big robot that comes in. And they get to pretty effectively take down the second one, even though they lose Squeak. However, the 3rd big robot is all it takes to finish off Colonel Ruffs and Eve, leaving the trio off with 2 total takedowns. Now let's face it, we all probably know that the Sancho trio is not meant for this challenge. The trio's evasive maneuvers are unbelievable, but that's not a big help whenever there's nothing to escape from. As a result, they're only able to bring down 1 big robot before they're all defeated. And finally, we have the Cinema or Theater trio, whatever you may call it. Unfortunately, Maisie's Finish Them gadget does not work on the bot as much as I'd like it to, and Buster's Amazing Super also isn't able to do anything. However, the trio can finish off a total of 2 big robots before all 3 of them are brought down. And that will wrap up the trio trials. Here is the performance of all the trios in this challenge. We had the Snowtail staff win. You may not have noticed, but this project was a disaster. This was my first classic example of everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. After a long time of recording, I almost deleted this project altogether, but then I decided that I could make the best of it, and that's exactly what I did. There's a chance that you didn't even notice any of the issues, but this video drove me crazy. And so I owe a huge thank you to anyone that I recorded this video with, as well as the few who assisted me even though they were off screen the whole time. Anyways, we're going to close off with a montage of some of our funniest failures we had because these were all things that actually happened in the game. Other than that, I have nothing else for today, so if you really stick to the end of this, thank you very much, and I will see you next time. Take care now.